The irony of the mug is ridiculous. There's gonna be times when you get your ass handed to you. All I can say is I'm in the middle of one of those cycles right now. For me personally, I'm working in sales, right, at a pretty busy retail store. I'm building a business. I'm operating pretty high levels in the gym, and I gotta tell you, I came home last night and I crashed. Um, it's gonna happen, right? Just wake up, get back on your grind, and go, right? So I fell asleep, makeup on, you know, total fashion nightmare. Just get back on track and pick up where you left off and go forward. But what I do want to touch on this morning, I don't know who needs this message, but it just like came to me as I'm eating my mega pancakes and drinking out of my ironically funny mug over here, is the difference between working on a project and working in your project. All right, you're gonna have to take two different positions wherever you are, whatever it is that you're doing. So I'm gonna give you a couple of examples here. As most of you know, I come from a healthcare background, and historically I have operated in emergency and critical care capacity. All right, now put this in your own context. My long-term goal as a nurse was actually to become a flight nurse for Loyola Lifestar. Like, it was literally that specific. Now, in order to achieve that role, and at the time we were actually invited into the position, it wasn't like a application was online sort of a thing, so you really had to have your SHIT together in order to be invited into that capacity. And the expectation was that you and your crew were ready to respond to any person or persons sometime, no matter what was wrong with them, no matter how many things were wrong with them, no matter what time of day, and no matter how many healthcare practitioners, whether this was a pre-hospital sector or in-hospital sector, if we were doing hospital-to-hospital transfer, no matter how many healthcare practitioners had been caring for that person prior to our arrival. The expectation was, with all of those variables, our job was not just to deliver the patient not dead to the next place. Our job was actually to improve their health status and hopefully get them, to the next place in a better state of health, or a better condition, more stable, whatever. Okay? Now, as you're going along your goals, obviously, on that track, I knew that I had to have a lot of different experience. As the nurse, I'm working to get all those different levels of experience. I'm working in the emergency room. I'm making sure that I'm putting myself in the places to see the most screwed up, critically ill patients ever. I'm putting myself to be sure that I'm ready to take care of pediatric patients. I'm putting myself over here to take care of pregnant ladies, like all of that stuff. That's working in your project, okay? So you're just in there, you're gaining knowledge, you're gaining experience, and it's kind of like you're underwater. You're just working and working and working and working and working and working and working. Eventually you have to come up for air. And you have to change your position. You have to change your perspective to be working on your project. Now you have to have more of a landscape view. All right, where am I? Not just in terms of a day-to-day, but where am I in terms of stepping towards this long-term project? How productive have I been? Honestly, and this can be kind of hard because you really have to pull your ego off, and you have to be so incredibly honest about recognizing your weak spots, depending on what your goal is. And I'm going to tell you, this may come as a total shock to you. I knew that neuro was my weak point. This is going back, okay? I know that I love the nervous system now. I love neuroendocrine. It wasn't always that way. It was honestly when I stepped out of being in the nursing role and I was working on my goal of becoming a flight nurse, I knew how important the nervous system is to all the other functions of the body. Excuse me. And I knew that unequivocally it was seriously my weakest point. And in order for me to, I think, to be invited into that program, but in all good conscience, to be that provider who was ready to respond to any person, anytime, blah, 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 I had to buff up, my experience and my knowledge when it came to neuro. So fortunately, what happened was that there was just this opportunity that came about to work in interventional neuroradiology through the Department of Neurosurgery, and I got my ass handed to me real quick day one. Like, I knew nothing about neuro, but I'm telling you, moving into that environment, even though I knew nothing about it, it was totally, totally humbling. It was something I didn't even know that I didn't know the stuff that I was being exposed to. It raised my game where I had to be fluent in the language to communicate with the physicians. I had to be fluent in the language to communicate with the patients and their families and all these different things. That at that point when I decided to move into neuro, that was because I took that step back and I was working on the goal. And then once I got in there, man, I was working in it. It was crazy. But it was only through that exposure, it was actually immersion is what it was, that it was nonstop neuro. I was on call all the time. I pretty much lived at the hospital. That lasted a period of time, and then I pulled myself out to get back on the emergency track to go over to LifeStar. But what I'm saying is you have got to take like dedicated stopping points so that as you're swimming and you're working on this goal, that you're stopping to evaluate yourself. So right now, where are we? This is, I don't know, December 13th or something like that of 2017. We are drilling into like the last 2 weeks of the year. And if you're of the type who sets New Year's resolutions, me, I really don't. I evaluate things on like a quarter to quarter basis, but most of my goal setting I do around my birthday. So if you're like the New Year's resolution person, or you're getting ready to look at your goals for the first quarter of 2018 and future, this is the time to just come up for air, take a look on your levels of productivity and figure out, okay, now this is going to require some patience. Am I producing results? Are they to the scale that I wanted? Okay, or am I completely off track? Now, this is going to take some finesse that I know a lot of times we're so used to having results like super quick. I want pizza, I'm going to push an app on my phone and it's going to come here. I want an Uber ride, I'm going to push an app on my phone, it's right here. I want to talk to somebody, I'm going to text them really quick. I usually get an immediate response. Right? Like we're being groomed to have that immediate feedback. But when you're working on a project, you're working on your goal, which has a process behind it, you also have to allow maturity time. So don't get so nervous that you pull yourself off the track because you're just not seeing the results, right? You have to be honest. Are you putting in the work day in, day out on a consistent basis at a high level? All right, and then you're looking down at your level of progress. Like picture yourself kind of like navigating on a chart, and you're reading the map to see like, is your navigation moving in that direction, or are you like really veering off course? Okay, so patience with the process. Know that there's the difference between working in the goal in the project and on the goal, and making sure that you take that diligent time to take that speculation time. I just had a total mental blank there. I think I need more. Have a good day.